Maui County's council, known as the state's Canoe District, includes the islands of Maui, Lanai, and Molokai, with all 9 council members elected by the entire county. This year, every seat is up for grabs, and on the next Insights on PBS Hawaii, we'll hear from the candidates looking to represent Kahului and Upcountry. Join the conversation and meet the hopefuls shaping the future of Maui County. Next on Insights.
Aloha and welcome to Insights on PBS Hawaii. I'm Yanji Denise. We are speaking tonight to 4 candidates for Maui County Council. First, a little background on how the council is elected. The Maui County Council is made up of 9 seats. Council members are elected on an at-large basis. All county residents can cast votes for all 9 seats. Council members serve 2-year terms, and this year, all 9 seats are up for grabs. Tonight, we will talk to the candidates for the Kahului and Upcountry seats where newcomers are looking to unseat the incumbents. We look forward to your participation in tonight's show. You can email or call in your questions, and you'll find a live stream of this program at pbshawaii.org and on the PBS Hawaii YouTube page. Now to our guests. Carol Lee Kamekona is a candidate for Maui County Council representing the Kahului residency seat. She served in the Navy and Navy Reserves for 22 years and is a single mom of 7. Tasha Kama is the current Maui County Council member for the Kahului seat. She was elected in 2018. She's a retired pastor and has 11 children, 33 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. Jocelyn Cruz is a candidate for the Maui County Council Upcountry seat. She's worked as a farm project manager and led the production team for the Sunflower Farm Music Festival, which benefits local nonprofits. And Yuki Lei Sugimura is the current Maui County Council member for the Upcountry residency seat. She was also elected in 2018, and prior to serving as a council member, she was a field representative for Senator Mazie Hirono. Thank you, ladies, for being here tonight. We appreciate you all making the trip. We read out a little bio at the top there, but I'm really interested to learn a little bit more about each of you and what's motivating you to represent your community. Ms. Kamekona, we'll start with you.
What motivates me to run as a candidate for council? Our residents is my utmost priority. I want to ensure that their voices are being heard. I want to ensure that they have affordable housing that keeps them in Maui at home rather than having to leave and be outpriced. So first and foremost, our residents. That is what's driving me.
Okay. Ms. Kama, what's motivating you to seek re-election?
My greatest motivation are my children. That when I think about them and I thought about what their futures would be like when they were young, I told myself that I wanted them to have a great future here on Maui. And in order for that to happen, I had to continue to be engaged. I was engaged in their preschools, in their elementary schools, their intermediate schools, and into their high schools. So I saw things as they began to change, and I realized that if I expected that my children's lives here on Maui would be great and fruitful, then I would have to continue to stay engaged. But they motivate me. The housing crisis today, what's going on. My children, my grandchildren, oh my gosh, half of them live on the continent. I want them all to come home. This is home. This is their roots. And I want them to be proud of who they are as Native Hawaiians. That's my motivation.
What's motivating you to step into politics?
Well, like you said, I'm a project manager for a farm, and this past weekend, the Hawaii Farmers Union just had their 14th annual convention, and it was an amazing event, and we got to listen to a lot of really incredible speakers, and there were breakout groups, and I got to listen to Uncle Walter Reedy speak, and he got a question from another farmer, and he was asking, how do we get the government to engage and to support us more as farmers? And Uncle Walter Reedy said, you have to become politically akamai in order to survive. So that's why I'm running, to help us not just survive, but thrive, because I know that's something that we can do on our island and in Hawaii in general.
And Ms. Sugimura, what's motivating you to seek re-election this term?
So this is, I'm right now in my 4th term and running for my 5th term. But I always say that this has been my life journey. I have been worked very closely with U.S. Senator Danny Noe. I was staff for Akaka, Senator Akaka, and also Mazie Hirono until I took this seat. So I've always been involved with government. I was a Wailuku Revitalization Coordinator under Mayor James Kimo Apana in the Office of Economic Development. And when I walked into that town, I said, this is my job. He said, help me revitalize this town. And they were like empty storefronts, and everybody from Wailuku had moved down to Kahului when sugar changed. And so these are the kinds of challenges that I walked into. But I know how to bring people together, and I'm a very good person to help bring federal funding dollars to our county, as I did with working on those projects. I share similar concerns about housing. We have a very bad housing situation that we're all working hard to improve. And then, of course, the biggest thing that we all have is the wildfires. In my district, Upcountry, we had 26 homes that burnt. Lahaina was devastated. So we now are sitting with a big problem, and how do we resolve it and bring in the federal dollars, the state dollars to help the county as we move forward.
Let me stay with you on the fires. What should the county council in particular be doing to prioritize recovery for the fire victims and the wider community?
Yeah, so what our job is in terms of what we are allowed to do in the charter is that we provide funding. So in this past budget cycle, when we got the budget from our mayor in March, which happens every year by charter, I'm the budget chair. And we looked at that and we said we need to focus more on the wildfires. So we basically took a lot of it apart and we put in projects that would then help with the Lahaina Foundation, which was an organization that was started from the community and is to keep Lahaina homes in Lahaina hands. And so we gave $10.5 million for that project. We helped with housing, affordable housing, and we even put in $8 million in emergency funds special for the wildfires. So any way we could, fiscally we did. And the way that we operate is that we develop the budget, we develop programs, we put in programs that we think would help, but the mayor and the administration then administers, right? So we work hand in hand in order to help the wildfires. It's a very big problem that we need help from federal, state, as well as the things that we can do.
Yeah, Ms. Cruz, what do you think the county specifically can do to help Maui recover?
There's a lot that can be done around just the water management. So water management is a public trust in our state constitution, and I would like to see a lot more of the water being managed by the actual public of our island. I think 78% of the water in West Maui is managed by private purveyors. And I know Seaworm is who we're gonna have to work with for that, but I mean, we just got the East Maui Water Authority after 2 years from voting it in. We're starting to see that like begin to take flight. So I think getting more water management back to the people, and then really working with the incumbent, Tamara Paulton. She's incredible, and their whole community. We just had a Lahaina Strong Forum on Monday night, and they're such a resilient community. And I think working with them, getting clear about their exact needs, and then working with affordable housing developers, and then streamlining processes with submitting their permits and getting those pushed through quickly. And like Sugimura was saying, working with federal funding too. Like one thing that we might be able to do is with federal funding, buy certain STRs and house, I think it's 600 residents that still need long-term housing. So working with the federal government to get that funding, buy those houses for them so that they're secure in long-term housing, and then going from there. I also am really into restoring moku ula. Anything with farming, I'm really into backing. And so getting the water to the taro farmers like it was promised is a really big passion of mine.
Ms. Kama, let's hear from you. What are your thoughts on what the county specifically, the county council specifically should be doing to help wildfire survivors?
Well, one of the things we did this past year was to prioritize Lahaina. And so what we did was, so we have what we call an affordable housing fund, and that's where all of our housing development monies that we collect, I think 3% taxes every year that goes into the fund. And we decided that we needed to give as much of that money into the Lahaina community for them to do with whatever it is that they needed to. And like Member Sugimura was saying, putting Lahaina lands in Lahaina hands is why we funded the land trust. It's because their job was to purchase properties from people living in Lahaina that they would hold on to and not sell it to anyone else unless they were from that area. And that way the land stayed and it wasn't going to be up and for sale to investors that do not live here and do not care about our people.
Ms. Kamekona, what is your thoughts on what the County Council specifically should be doing to help wildfire recovery?
So like Member Sugimura said, Council is responsible for budget, but they're also responsible for policies. So they need to set legislation. And the biggest one for me, again, like Jocelyn said, has a lot to do with water and the privatization of it. Water is a public trust. It shouldn't be treated as a commodity to be sold to the council and to the people by a private ownership. Also too is doing policies that will help to be able to build the affordable housing for our people. That's my utmost goal. Our people's voices have not been heard for eons. They're crying. We had a housing crisis prior to COVID. These fires exacerbated our housing. So now with the fires, we lost 4,000 of our people. We lost 6,000 units. How are we going to get that back? Let's start doing legislation that says rent stabilization is something that I would support. Converting the STRs that the mayor's proposal brought forward. It needs a little bit more vetting, but I do agree with the part that says you take the A1 and the A2 district, convert it to long-term, and put the STRs in the hotel zone where they belong.
Oh, I want to stay with you on STRs, and actually I'd like to get all of you to respond to that. Just for background for our viewers, Mayor Bisson has recently proposed permanently eliminating about 7,000 short-term rental units by January 1st of 2026. So what specifically don't you like about that proposal? What do you like about it?
In West Maui alone, there's approximately 2,300 STR units. I'm not looking to eliminate all. That proposal does need more vetting in order to be something that's going to be approved and bought by our residents. They're going to buy into it. What I would like to do is implement residency because I've been hearing our people say they have STRs that they count on for their income, for their retirement. So does that mean you're going to get rid of all of them, even ours? So in listening to them, I'm saying let's do some kind of exemption for our residents, allowing them to keep their STRs. But again, residency has to come into play, the amount of STRs that you have. Like you can't own 20 of them, like I hear some people do. You know, that's commodifying us, and you can't do that. You can't buy Maui.
Ms. Cruz, where do you stand on the short-term rental issue?
I feel very similarly to Auntie Carol Lee. I don't think we should get rid of all of them. And I think they provide a nice alternative to hotels. A lot of them are a lot cheaper than the hotels. So if we have friends and family coming to visit, that's a cheaper option for them. I do think we need to look at some zoning for some of them. And I also have friends that are on island and they have STRs. And I think it's nice that they're able to rent it out, make money, and then that money stays on our island rather than the hotels. They make all this money and then it goes off island the very next day. So I think January 1st of 2026 is right around the corner. So I think we still need to go back to the drawing board with how this proposal was originally written. Infrastructure is a big issue with them too. I don't think they're necessarily the best for all our residents to move into, and that's why I don't think we need to eliminate them all. But I am in favor of looking at some of them on the west side that are reasonably priced, that are citizens could afford there, and looking at the HOA fees, making sure that the insurance is included, and housing people on the west side long term is a huge priority, I think. And if we work with FEMA, there's a possibility that we could buy just the units that we need and then look at rezoning some of the other STR units.
Ms. Kama, what are your thoughts on the mayor's proposal to transition those STRs?
My thought was, let's do a study. So I proposed a study, the council paid for it, and so we did an RFP, and the RFP is supposed to be, I think, what is this? I think they should have gotten some responses by now, and then I think the Office of Consular Services will decide on who they will give the RFP to. But my whole thought is, you know, not every STR is useful in terms of what families need. There are some STRs, and that's why we had to do a scope of service that says, how many STRs are really good for families, how many STRs are not, and so the ones that we can use for families, then let's take them and let's by all means allow our people to utilize them. If not, let's just keep the STRs in the revenue-making stream that they already are in, because our STRs bring in a lot of tax dollars. So before we start getting rid of all of our tax dollars that helps to pay for many of our services in our county, let's figure out what can and cannot be used and use that going forward. But until the study comes out that tells us how many units can actually be used for this type of housing or no type of housing, one of the things that concerned me the most was, can our local people actually afford to get into an STR, pay the HOA fees that I heard were at least up to a couple of $1,000s. So let's take a better look at how we can really provide housing for our people and how we can still allow the tax revenue to continue to flow into our county.
Yeah, Ms. Sugimura, what are your thoughts on the mayor's proposal?
Yeah, so the mayor's proposal was an answer to the many people who were fishing for housing, you know, and I believe that it expressed the frustration in the community of people feeling the crunch of visitors in their community and, you know, in their comforts. So I believe that he reacted to that, and what Member Kama is talking about is that what we as policymakers, before we would make a decision, this is our responsibility to get the facts and data, right? So we looked at the 7,100 units and asking for where are they located, can people afford it, right? If you're going to be right on the ocean, is that something that, you know, people, our local people could afford? And what are the associated fees? Not only do you have a rent, but the HOA, as well as they're older, so there's special assessments that we've been hearing about. I just got an email saying that this person received a $25,000 notice from their homeowners association saying that they need to change the roof. So there's things like that that needs to be revealed, that I really appreciated the foresight of Member Kama to know that we need a bigger data, right? UHERO came out with a great article saying that what we should do is tax them more. And I will tell you that we tax them more now, right now. Short-term vacation rentals, they pay a higher tax for the privilege of using their units as a business. They also provide a lot of jobs to the housekeeper and the landscapers. I mean, just people that we hear from too. Don't take away my jobs, right? And so our responsibility then is to look at what is the total scope, and so we can understand how to vote. UHERO is saying that tax them more. We do. The last tax policy, the last session, the research that I saw is that they bring about 200 million into our revenue source. So the other big responsibility that we have as policymakers is, if you take away that kind of tax dollars, what is it going to be replaced with? Because what it does is, because of the hotels and the short-term vacation rentals, the transit vacation rentals, all of those that have a touch of visitors, they get taxed more, or these second homes, they get taxed more with us. And for that, what happens is, I'm sure you all hear that Maui County's taxes are very low. and that very low in comparison to many states across the nation. And the reason it is because who pays our taxes are those that are paying the higher taxes. So I say, I had a Mother's Day breakfast and somebody happened to ask me, what do I think? And I said, all of you sitting at this table, be ready. One day you're going to have to pay more taxes because these the visitors and the short-term vacation rentals, if we take away that and there's no longer we're going to receive any benefits from them, somebody's going to have to make up the benefits or the loss, or you're going to have a reduced services. And our services that we provide and we're obligated to is safety, right? Fire, safety, police, water, and cesspools, the wastewater system, roads, all the things that the basic services may get impacted.
I want to ask you, because all four of you have said housing in one way or another is really a top priority for you. One of the things when we talk to policy experts is that they say that the zoning laws on Maui need to be reformed and that they're too stringent and not allowing for the kind of density or building that would really be necessary to meet the needs of the community. Yet time and again, the council has not changed the zoning regulations. There's a lot of opposition to not in my neighborhood, basically, is the sentiment that is expressed, and we don't see any change. So, Ms. Kama, let's start with you. Do you think that the zoning laws need to be reformed to allow for more density and more building in order to meet the challenges that all of you have laid out?
Absolutely. And you're right about not in my backyard. Density we need, but not in my backyard. Whenever we start to want to put up some new development, the community always complains about too much traffic. The schools are bursting at its seams, and they just are not wanting to have development. Density we're going to have. So that means if we're not going to spread out, that means we have to go vertical, right? So in Maui County, we can go vertical, but we can't go more than 4 stories high. So we're going to see in the future a lot of 4-story buildings all over Maui County, because how do you meet the needs of your people if you don't go vertical, right? And
so is 4 stories enough? Should it be higher than 4 stories?
It might have to be, but that we did when I think 2 or 3 years ago we did that because certain people felt like they didn't want to be like other cities.
The one we're in tonight. I got it. Ms. Kamekona, what are your thoughts? Should we, do those housing restrictions need to be reformed to allow for more density, understanding that there will be a lot of people, if you are elected, that will be your constituents that don't want that kind of building in their community?
So, it's interesting, Yunji, that you mentioned that each of us have talked about affordable housing, and what matters. But I think what makes me different than my colleagues is how I want to approach that affordable housing. Zoning is one way, vertical is another way, density is another way. But we had a comprehensive affordable housing plan that was drafted and proposed and paid for by council that's been sitting on the shelf for 3 years. That should be implemented because there's a lot of things in there that we can do. The council can utilize bonds in order to provide investment in infrastructure. So my biggest thing is I would want to implement that comprehensive affordable housing plan. Plus, and this is something that I would need to talk to state ledge on it, because it is not something that the council can handle, but it's wages. We need to up the minimum wages faster than what the state ledge is doing now in order for our people to keep up with the cost of housing. 1.4 with somebody that only makes like $16 or $18 an hour, how is that going to be achievable? It's not. It's not even affordable. So wages would be one thing that I would want to talk to state ledge about, which helps with the affordable housing. It helps our people to be able to afford that. And I also support rent stabilization.
Okay. Let's talk about those zoning laws. Do you think that there should be some reforms there? Do you think that we could go higher than 4 stories? And what about the density issue?
One of the things that we are doing is reuse. So Queen Kahumanu Center, this is to her credit, and I'm surprised she didn't talk about it, but Queen Kahumanu Center, which is a big shopping center on Maui, And as many of the shopping centers across the country, they've been having, you know, because of people shopping on Amazon or whatever it is, right? So a lot of empty storefronts. So Queen Kahumanu Center, we just changed that zoning to allow them to have live-work environment. And we look forward to that happening. It is one of her projects that she did. And it's those kind of creative things that we can do where you take existing buildings and figure out a way to reuse it. That's number one. We need to build more homes. We need to build more rentals. So, you know, your example of paying people more, right? So people can't just go from what your example was, 18 or whatever dollars per hour. You have to gradually get up there in your life, right? So it takes time, but in order to support them, it takes time. Affordable housing, when we do affordable housing, and I don't know if people understand, but when an affordable house is made available, the reason why it's affordable is the cost of the house may be still $500,000 to build it. But somebody's going to have to make the difference up, which is federal government, state government, county government. So we have our Affordable Housing Fund, which we put 8% in of funds in from our real property tax into that, so that we would have then $46 million that we could do projects for. So in our budget, we had many projects. One was Ohana, Ikaika Ohana, which is a apartment that burnt from the wildfire. And so we bought the land, we paid $3.5 million, and we gave the developer, Mr. Bigley, $36 million from the Affordable Housing Fund. And we're helping them rebuild. So it's those kind of things that we need to do. So yes, support the Affordable Housing Fund, but the reason why we're able to have houses that are cheaper is because it's supplemented by state and federal dollars in the county of Maui. So it's those kinds of things that we need to do more of.
Ms. Cruz, what are your thoughts about how we could build more affordable housing at a quicker pace? Would it be changing zoning, changing, you know, and thereby changing density, allowing for higher buildings? What are your thoughts?
I'm in favor of rent stabilization also. I don't think that this is an issue we're necessarily going to completely build our way out of. And I have to echo Auntie Carol Lee and say, I think we should revisit the Maui County Comprehensive Affordable Housing Plan and look at some of the solutions there. We will have to pivot because it was written before the fires. So zoning is one thing, but rent stabilization I think would actually be very helpful. And it's a little disheartening that I feel like our people feel like they haven't been heard completely on that issue. There's been a lot of testimony that was written in, and recently it just feels like we've been kind of cast aside in light of big developers. And, you know, Kelly King, when she was in office, she was able to build some affordable housing divisions. So I think we talked to the developers that either she knows or some like them, because there are developers who want to build affordable housing, and those are the developers that we want to work with on Maui, not the ones that are not in favor of taking care of our people.
You know, all of you have also talked about just affordability, and you're talking about rent stabilization. What are some other things you think the council could do to help with the high cost of living?
We have to pivot from our current, and this will take time. I know this is something that's not going to happen overnight, but relying solely or virtually solely on just tourism is not beneficial for us. And we saw that especially after the fires, even during COVID. I think we need to implement some new streams of revenue. One that I think would be beneficial for us is the entertainment industry. Hawaii has pretty good tax breaks for filming. And I know a lot of it happens on Oahu, and there's also, I believe, unions on Oahu, and that's one thing that's inhibiting people from Maui from being hired. Like, even when people shoot on Maui, a lot of times I heard like the Teamsters will still get hired from Oahu. So we need to come up with some legislation where it says that our people from Maui will be hired for these productions. And also ecotourism. If we're going to have tourists, I think that we want to draw in a specific type of tourist. And agrotourism is huge in the world. You know, in Italy it's huge, in Mexico it's huge. So I think we need to pivot just from our basic income of tourism and explore different avenues so that we can generate new forms of income And like Auntie Carol Lee was saying, hopefully raise minimum wage for a lot of people, because it's just the livable wage. I mean, I had to find housing last year, and it legitimately made me want to cry, the places that I was looking at that I could afford.
And that speaks to what this viewer wrote in, and that kind of piggybacking on the question that I asked, which is affordability and how to make, what the council can specifically do. This viewer from Upcountry says, what are your ideas to diversify our local economy away from tourism? I think that Ms. Cruz answered that, but what are your thoughts about how we can diversify away? And then also just broadly how the council can help with affordability issues on Maui.
Well, one of the things the council does a lot of is that we do give a lot of money to helping upstarts, right? So I think a couple of years ago, we have an organization in Maui called Maui Economic Opportunity, and they have these core programs where they actually teach an entrepreneurship program. And I was funding, I think, 8 students every year to do that for a couple of years. And that's what we need to do. We need to be able to look at our people, and see what kind of things that they are passionate about, and what is the things that they want to do, and how can we help elevate their passion into an entrepreneurship for them, and helping them go through classes, and then actually having the banks come alongside with them in terms of helping them understand how to write the business plan, how to get the funding for the plan, and actually following them through. So I think entrepreneurship, you know, on Maui, I've never seen so many food trucks all over the place. Now, that is entrepreneurship that happened during COVID, right? When people weren't going to work, but they had to do other stuff. And then before you know it, we saw one food truck, we saw another food truck, and it was like, and now we have food trucks. And to me, that was wonderful that we can have now a Sunday market of just a whole bunch of food trucks. On the corner where I live, the Tambayan corner, or in Tambayan in Ilocano means talk story. And that's what it is. It's just a group of food trucks, a lot of food tables. People come, they talk story, they eat, they order food, and it's wonderful. But that's the kind of entrepreneurship I think we need to invest money in. We invested money in the tourist industry from like in the late 40s, early 50s. And all that money for tourism has gone into even up to maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we didn't give them as much money as we did before. But any new program, such as the film industry, that I totally support, I am so much behind of it that was one of my goals in terms of when I looked at the film industry and how to support that. So I was supporting the film industry on Maui by giving them funding so that they can promote. I think the most recent one was when all the canoes came, right? And then they did a beautiful video on that. And, you know, those are the kinds of things I think that we need to support: entrepreneurship, the film industry, and any other things that people believe that they could do. I think we also talked about, I can't remember the word, intellectual properties, right? And so capitalizing on those things. So.
Ms. Kamekona, I know that you had said raising the minimum wage, but what about the business owner who's going to say, I'm running this food truck and I can't afford to pay this person any more than I'm already paying them? And also answering this question about diversifying the local economy away from tourism, kind of like a 2-part economy question, really. Yes, I understand that 16 to 18 and what you're talking about is not enough, especially with the rents as high as they are where you live. But that said, there are a lot of small businesses who will say, I can't afford that.
Very much so, and thank you for that question. But I just wanted to touch on what Councilmember Kama said. That program that she was talking about, the MEO Core 4 program, it was the one that pushed through entrepreneurship. So diversifying our economy means working on building our small businesses. So the county can subsidize. Utilizing bonds, they can subsidize whatever is necessary to a extent for small businesses, for homeowners, but also diversifying our economy to bring in tech industries, to bring in the film industries, healthcare workers. We need to build on our healthcare workers. We only have one hospital that services all of Maui County. We need the healthcare, because having healthcare workers and taking care of them means we have a healthier Maui. Having a diversified economy means we have a resilient economy. So yes, making $12 and $14 flipping burgers at a fast food restaurant is not going to allow a student, should I say, that's just starting off in the workforce to be able to even rent a unit for them to move outside of the housing of family. So unless the wages are raised so that our families and our children can afford at least to go out on their own, yes, our culture deals a lot with generational housing, and that has a lot to do with culture, but still, you need that sense of privacy and sense of being on your own. So that's why I'm looking at raising.
And you're suggesting that the county would then subsidize the difference?
The county can do subsidies with bonds.
Let's talk about this viewer from Upcountry. The question here, what are your ideas to diversify our local economy away from tourism? What can the council do specifically in that regard?
I want to make a general statement that we're not ready to give up the tourist industry, right? Because it's such a big part of our community. We need to balance it. And that some of the industries that I think are existing already we have, I live on Haleakala. So we have the Haleakala Observatory and the different observatories that are there and working with the military. So there are jobs up there that are high-paying jobs that can be, we can work more by getting our local people employed, through that industry. So technology, and in South Maui we have a opportunity. I think the Air Force or the military is building I'm not too sure how big it is, but they're expanding their reach on Maui and to try to generate more jobs. So there's opportunities like that are coming to us that I believe are important. So it's not only the visitor industry. We're at the Hawaii State Association of Counties conference, and we all know Walter Dodds, right? So he was one of the keynote speakers, and he said, and I think he had just donated, I don't know how many millions of dollars for an entrepreneur college or school at the University of Hawaii. And he was just talking about the economy. And he looked at all of us, and we're all policymakers, Hawaii State Association of Counties, all the different counties. And he said, before you get rid of visitors, make sure that you have something to replace it. And we're not there because he says you would damage our economy, right? So even the short-term vacation rentals, if we're not careful, we're going to damage our economy. So every decision we make has a lot of bigger decisions that impact impact others. So we have a really good film commissioner that just started with us, and I just saw him. He wants to bring over a really big. He wouldn't tell me where, but he's going to do something on Maui. So he wants to show that Maui is open. Maui is not dead, after the wildfires. So there's that kind of energy going on. There's the tech industry. We also have, the council gives out, there's a $2 million grant program that we put into our budget to give to farmers. So we're trying to nurture farmers in the community. So that's available for people to apply, and that's through Maui Economic Opportunity. Apply there, you can get up to $25,000. So there's these different programs that we're doing then to support trying to build other industries.
Tonight,
Junji, can I just address
briefly, because I want to make sure that we cover Lahaina, and we only have about 20 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So only to touch on the jobs that she mentioned at Haleakala and what is coming forth in the M&T, the R&T Park in Kihei, Kulakai, they're not jobs created for our people. Those jobs are for military personnel. They're not for our people. And that's just what I wanted to correct, because you have to be a member of the military to work up at Haleakala, because you have to have that expertise and that training, and you also have that security clearance.
Go ahead, and then let's move on.
They're jobs for local people. And of course, there's the military, how it all comes together. So I want to correct that. And there's opportunities for us to then broaden our base, because right now, I always say when Senator Inouye was alive and he helped us by building the supercomputer, which is at that location, at the Research Technology Park. And so that that structure is still there and they're still using it, the military is, for whatever, but there's federal dollars that are coming in, as well as it's employing local people. My friend's daughter is like a receptionist over there. She's not part of the military. So there's local jobs that are available, you know, and it's not only for, you don't have to be an officer.
Let's move on to Lahaina. I know that, you know, the four of you are running tonight to talk about, to represent Kahului and Upcountry, but the council will have a tremendous role in reshaping what happens to that community and really guiding that process. We hear a lot about how the community should lead the way, but I'm just interested on a practical level how each of you actually seeing that come to pass so that we are not mired in years and years of discussion without progress being made, infrastructure being built, and people actually getting back into housing and rebuilding their community. So Ms. Kamekona, let's start with you. How do you think that we make sure that the community can lead the way, but at the same time make sure that we're moving fast enough to accommodate the needs of the people who want to move home?
So as a native Hawaiian, I would say what I would express, or I would want to have expressed, is the fact that Lahaina was the seat of government for our Hawaiian kingdom. And so it has a lot of cultural history to a lot of the native Hawaiians that live, and they don't necessarily have to live in Lahaina. It's just, if you have the koko, if you have the blood, you are a native Hawaiian. That has a lot of history to you. That makes a lot of sense to you. So that has to be remembered. There were a lot of local ias, fish ponds, that were around the compound of Kamehameha III, Kauai Ke'ole, which is Moku'ula. Yeah? So I would want Moku'ula to be brought back. Evidence of the fish ponds coming back is across the street from the tennis court, the Moku'ula area. There is a parking garage. I was able to tour the burn zone. In that parking garage, the water is already up, and that's coming from the streams, the fish ponds that existed before, the waters that are coming down from Mauka, because that's the streams that should be happening instead of the diversion that has been happening. So I would say, look at culture, make sure that the Hawaiian culture is brought forth at the forefront, but also being able to bring all the diversified cultures that make up Lahaina.
Ms. Kama, how do we do that and also meet the timelines that are necessary to make sure that Lahaina is rebuilt so that people can go back, you know, because people want to go back now, right?
I really believe that the community, that community in itself, is going to have to decide for themselves how to rebuild it. But we have the Office of Recovery that is there almost every week, talking to them, helping them to rebuild, to apply for permits, to do whatever it is that they need to help navigate through that whole process of rebuilding, and also the process of healing too. You know, it's hard to rebuild when your heart is breaking and when you can't focus and you can't concentrate. But in terms of the people themselves, how to begin the discussion and end the discussion with some decision making. You know, I always think about communities like that as neighborhoods, right? And people on a street, on one street, or people in one neighborhood, in one cul-de-sac, when they start to get together and start to plan things, and that's what they're doing when they meet with the mayor and his team every Wednesday nights. I'm a big proponent that for that community, that they get to decide, and then they should be telling what it is that they want to be able to rebuild. And I could support that, whatever it is that the people want and how they want to rebuild. And if they want to take the route of restoring the historic places, Mokuhinia, Moku'ula, I mean, I support that. But I think people are more interested in, first of all, how do I get my home built? How do I get through the permitting process? How do I get the money to build my home that when I bought my home in the first place, it was $50,000. Now I'm looking at sometimes 100 times more than that. Those are the concerns that the people have, and those are the things that they're focusing on now. That's the kind of stuff I want to help them get through immediately so that they can get back into their homes and have some sense of peace.
Ms. Cruz, what are your thoughts on how the community voice can be included while also making progress?
So I think it's an integral part, having the community's voice be a part of the process, because I believe in a government of the people, by the people, for the people. That's in our state constitution also. And I just, again, am a huge proponent of also restoring moku'ula. We talk about infrastructure, and our environment is a huge part of our infrastructure, and that will help us to manage some of the fire breaks, because land that is living is less likely to burn. And again, going back to a government that's for the people, I think it should be community-led and government-funded, because with the bypass, that's a huge thing, and getting a hospital over there. I think we are going to have to seek, I've looked up some government grants for the bypass, some government grants for the hospital, so I think we are going to have to take some federal funding for that. And then again, streamlining the permitting process. I think we talk with the community, we talk with developers who are interested in affordable housing, and then we create a streamlined permitting process where it's centralized and we can get these things passed through and get people back home feeling comfortable and safe.
What do you see as the county's role in all of this, and how do you make sure that there is consensus in community? Because there will be people who disagree with decisions that are made, but things need to happen, infrastructure needs to be built, people need to go home.
So you're talking about what kind of structure, and that's what we're seeing, right? So we see the county government having community meetings and taking that, and in October we're going to have a long-term recovery plan. So we're waiting for that to be given to us. And in there will be their recommendations from the county of how we're going to move forward. The mayor has put together a team of, I think, 6 people that he meets with regularly. They're part of the community, leaders in the community, and they talk to other people and bring information forward. So that's one way. The other way is the Wednesday night meetings that happen where they're talking to whatever the latest information that people need. But what we really need is a structure so that it can be a body of Lahaina people, I believe, kind of like Hawaii Community Development Authority or something of that nature, so that there'll be a structure and decisions can be made. But I don't know if we're ready for that yet, you know, because there's a lot of hurt still. Legislature is coming up, and I know that the legislature tried to implement and suggest HCDA of doing it, as well as I think Senator De La Cruz had another, I think it was called Lele Village or Lele whatever, and I think they were all good ideas. But what the legislature is saying is, you know, you need to have some structure, and we're going to get there. I know we have to get there because we need to make some decisions, you know, like what we're all talking about. The county, I just want to say, is that what we're doing is we're doing what we do best, which is infrastructure, right? So water and the wastewater, the roads, all the things that were damaged with the fire, we're gradually putting back, right? After one whole year, by August 8th, the water department finally said there's water that you can drink in the whole Lahaina area and in the burn zone area, whereas you couldn't before. And I experienced that with Upcountry, where we didn't have any water that our residents could drink for 1 month. Or no, actually it was 3 months. So until the water is, you know, pure and able to be consumed, but that's the role the county can do, right? We got to do the infrastructure things, and I also want to say bonding. The county cannot bond private, so we can bond ourselves, but we cannot bond a house that somebody has or whatever it is. So just clarifying that we will bond things in this fiscal year 25 budget. There's like $200 million of CIP, capital improvement projects, that the departments are doing, but we need to do more focused things like that so that we can bring Lahaina back and, you know, bring back stronger, right?
The two of you have worked with Mayor Bisson, the two of you have not. I'm interested just briefly to get your thoughts on the mayor and how he's done his job and what your relationship is like with him, because he has to work very closely with council.
Yeah, so we have a partnership, right? The most important thing that we have all learned how to do that I think is really important is, how do you take this? I mean, nobody could ever guess that this would happen, right? This disaster. And it was so hurtful, it was so devastating, and our relationship is that we look forward to working with him and what projects that he needs to do, right? So long term, he came, right after fire, he said, I need to hire 8 people, done. He came down with the budget amendment, sure. You know, so whatever way we can, and and policy-wise, if there's things that we need to do, like I'm looking at real property tax relief again, because we did real property tax relief for the property owners in Lahaina from the time of the fire up until the end of this year, and now we're going to have to, well, I shouldn't say we have to still vote on it, but extend it for another year. But we need to do things like that so we can support the people. So like as Member Kama talks about, they're trying to figure out how to rebuild, and just the hurt that they're going through step by step, right?
Mayor, Ms. Kama, what is your relationship with the mayor? What do you think of the job he's done?
I have a really good relationship with the mayor. I call him, I text him about a whole bunch of stuff. He responds back. I'm very happy about that. I don't always agree with a lot of things that he does, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to support him when he needs the support. I will always support him. But like everything else, we don't even all agree too sometimes, but it doesn't matter. What does matter is the things that we can agree on. Let's move forward on those. And the things that we don't agree, leave it on the side. Let's not argue about it.
Ms. Cruz, what are your thoughts on Mayor Bisson's leadership?
Well, I don't know him personally. I will say the most recent backing for the East Maui Water Authority, that I was really grateful that he stepped in and did that for us. I can't imagine what it would be like to have to be a mayor after the tragedy that happened. I do have to say, though, there were plans in 2018 after the 2018 fire, and I know he wasn't in office then, but some of this tragedy was a little bit foreseeable, and it would be nice if now the county, we come up with more action plans. So when we have a plan, we assign somebody to a job, we assign dates to that so that we can hold people more accountable for it and see the progress of where these plans are at so that nothing like this ever happens again.
And Ms. Kamekona, just briefly, because we're almost out of time and I do want to give you all a closing thought, but what are your thoughts about Mayor Bisson's leadership?
On a working relationship, I've not worked with him, so I really don't know. On a personal level, I have a high regard for him. We've been in different entities together, so I have a high regard as far as personal goes. I must say, though, that in this job, it was a very much learning curve, because what has happened, you never would have expected to happen. You never could plan for it. You don't have a book that says this, and this is what you need to do. So I think it's a learning curve for all of us. He did okay. We don't agree on everything, like what was mentioned before. But if you don't agree, you come together, you talk about it, you compromise, and you hold them well.
Okay, we've got just about 3 minutes, so under a minute each. If I could just get a final thought from each of you, and start with you.
UNG, I just want to say thank you very much to you and to PBS for allowing us the opportunity to be here and to at least share our platform and our vision for our people. And just remember, for me, my platform, our people come first. Our residents count.
Thank you. Ms. Cruz, a final thought.
Thank you so much again for having us. I have said this a lot in different forums, but I just strongly believe in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that's food, water, shelter. So I want to be a huge advocate for all the farmers on island, and that agriculture can help us pivot to more ecotourism, affordable housing, and getting the water to the farmers that need it, because that is huge. I think our farmers should be first in line to get a lot of the water over these private developers, because they're going to be who helps us feed our island and become sovereign again.
Okay. Ms. Kama, what are your thoughts, your final thought tonight?
My final thoughts tonight are, when I was a kid growing up, my grandma taught us so many things. And sometimes the things she was wanting to teach us, I would tell her, tutu, too hard. She would always say, hikino, can do. So I'm very grateful for being here in this place that can do. And collectively, I know we all can do what is the best for all of our people. Whether we get elected, re-elected, or not elected at all, I know that we can all do it because we love our people. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Sugimura, you get the last word tonight.
Thank you. So the other night we were at Lahaina Strong Forum, and as we were right on the ocean, Canoe Beach, and as I was doing my forum, I see this canoe coming in, because it was, you know, the kids or whatever that were, and I said, you know what? We all are part of this canoe. That you need the mayor, you need us, but leaders in the community the voices of the community, but we all need to work together, you know, and that is the role that we have to play, and to be sure that the voices are heard and that decisions are made so that we build a better future. And it is hard because of the disaster. It makes, you know, it's a really kind of a different situation, but we can do it, and we are doing it slowly, day by day.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to all of you for being here tonight. Mahalo for joining us. We do, of course, thank our guests, the candidates for Maui County Council, Kahului and Upcountry residency seats, Carol Lee Kamekona from Kahului and Jocelyn Cruz from Upcountry, and Tasha Kama from Kahului and Yuki Lei Sugimura from Upcountry. Next week, we will feature our last race for election 2024 and meet with the candidates for U.S. Senate District 1, which includes urban Oahu. Please do join us then. Until next time, I'm Yanji Denise for Insights on PBS Hawaii. Aloha.
Local broadcasts of Insights on PBS Hawaii are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo, and by Carl Smith Ball, providing legal services throughout Hawaii and the Pacific since 1857, making a positive difference in the communities where we live.